Well, here's the big one, the one many of you came here for, just to verify you're not crazy and that what's going on in your body is actually happening, the withdrawals, the big W. Before we get deep into this thing, let's stop right now and stress once again that it's decision time. So we can approach benzo withdrawals with terror, running around like maniacs and expecting our own personal doomsday and destruction. We can live in fear, or we can go bravely into this thing well armed with powerful knowledge and ready to win a big victory. I think we'll choose the big victory route today and do all the smart things to give you the win. Later, Hillary and Faith are going to give you some amazing strategies that I really wished I would have had to put this thing in the past. Lucky you. So let's decide right now to accept where we are. We can approach withdrawals with confidence because it's not going to last forever, and that's a fact. Hell, folks, you can do anything for a while. I'm sure of it. You're obviously a fighter, or you wouldn't have bought this program. Wouldn't have tried to educate yourself at all. In a sense, you've already won. Okay, I'm done cheerleading for a minute. So all of you benzo warriors, let's really dissect this thing. To begin with, and I know, you're sick to death of hearing it, but so many issues caused by BWS or benzo withdrawal syndrome can be avoided by tapering off of benzos smoothly and steadily. Now, notepads out, this is important. The best tapering method seems to be what is called the 10-2 rule, which recommends reducing your dose by 10% every 2 weeks. I will repeat, that's 10% every 2 weeks. Now, once again, I'm not a doctor, and your case may vary, so I'm begging you to consult with your doctor who really knows your situation. It may take months, it may take years, but believe me, it's worth it to do it the right way. It's also important to avoid something called kindling when you withdraw, even though it's very tempting. Essentially, it's the very odd name for restarting benzos after you've stopped. It can temporarily stop the misery, yes, but you're going to pay for it in the end. Scientists don't know why, but when you kindle, it seems to make the next time you try to stop so much harder. Stick with it, friends. Try not to kindle. One and done. So what happens after that last pill, after the last taper? Like we said, essentially your nervous system, which has been sedated with benzos for so long, freaks out. It screams, "Where's my drug?" The GABA in your brain is no longer enhanced, and your brain short circuits in a sense. This is normal, and it's a lot like quitting any addictive substance. This period after the last pill is when we enter benzo withdrawal syndrome territory. Some call it benzo flu, and in some ways, it does feel like a really bad flu that just won't let up. But like I've said, no two stories are the same, and it will help you immensely to remember that. No reason to get worked up quite yet. Most people had no idea what benzo withdrawals even were, or even what a benzo was, until they made headlines in 2014 with the story of a man you may remember. The man's name was John Walter, and his sad story is public record, so we can openly discuss it. So in April 2014, Mr. Walter was arrested for several charges in Texas and booked in jail. He didn't have the money for bail, so he had to sit it out and wait. The problem was, Mr. Walter was also a benzo user and on 6 milligrams of Klonopin when he was booked into jail. Over and over again, he told the staff at the jail he needed his medicine, but was denied by the on-site medical staff who stood by their cold turkey policy when you entered the facility. As you can imagine, he entered withdrawal soon after. Over the next 17 days, Mr. Walter lost 30 pounds and refused to eat or drink. At the height of his benzo withdrawals, he was in a state of psychosis and broke his own bones as he threw himself at the jail walls. He screamed in agony for his medicine, but no one did a thing. The staff watched on and often punished him with pepper spray and restraints when they felt he was way out of control. On his last day alive, Mr. Walter was seen convulsing on the floor and then finally not moving at all. He died there on a jail cell floor, watched by officers and medical staff. Regardless of your view on crime and punishment, Mr. Walter was a human being, and his suffering was very real indeed. The story and lawsuit that follows really shed light onto this whole benzo withdrawal issue, but I'm afraid what he was withdrawing from has been lost. That story and so many like it really illustrate how serious the issue is and why my team and I take your health so seriously. Mr. Walter's case was a severe one, but not unknown. Your personal experience is likely going to be far more sedate, especially with the tools you're going to receive soon. So, what should you expect on day one? My greatest advice is to expect nothing but be prepared for anything. A good mind state going into this will save you a lot of heartache later, and Hillary will fill in the blanks just a bit because she's the master of mindset. You got to decide on day one you can do this and stick with it because you can. You may experience many or none of the symptoms, so don't waste precious energy worried about what may not be. So here's a little snapshot of my withdrawal story. Like I said, I was put off Klonopin cold turkey. Many of you were, and it sucks. Sucks to the point of you listening to me today. One day I was on a hefty dose of benzos, then the next day I was not. The first day was okay, but not great. Remember, I was in a mental health clinic days from entering the real world again with no job, no prospects, and a dwindling bank account. So I was more worried about those issues, I'm sure. The drug was still in my system. It was still sedating me some. Lucky me, Klonopin is suspected to be the nastiest benzo to get off of and is the one that stays in your system for quite a while. The second day I felt crappy, and to be honest, it was a lot like going through antidepressant withdrawals. I was really emotional that day, feeling irritable, sad, and really foggy-headed. I didn't think too much about it because I'd been there and done that so many times before. Regardless, I woke up on the third day shaking and crying, so anxious I felt like I'd stuck my fingers in an electrical socket. I won't lie, I wanted to die. Many of you are nodding your heads, understanding every word of what I'm saying to you right now. I felt out of control and actually had to be nearly carried to the on-site doctor's office in the clinic. This was my favorite moment when I was told it was simply in my head. By the night of the third day, I knew these withdrawals were vastly different from your run-of-the-mill antidepressant withdrawals, and the real fun began. No surprise, it only got worse. Taper, my friends. Roll your eyes at me and sigh in exasperation if you must, but please, I'm begging you to taper. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, learn the 10-2 rule, decided we won't kindle, and prep you for battle, let's get to the heart of this issue. In order to keep the withdrawal issues more neat and orderly, I've separated the physical issues from the neurological issues into smaller bite-sized submodules. In no particular order, we'll start with how the withdrawals can affect you physically in submodule 1. I'll see you there.